Somewhere, right now, someone is about to have a glass of wine to unwind after work. Someone else is lighting something they'd rather their mother not know about. Someone's chewing gum just to feel something with their hands and mouth at the same time, because apparently we need that. Altering your own brain chemistry on purpose is one of the most universal human habits there is. Every culture on Earth, in every era we've ever studied, has found some way to do it. Which raises a question most people never actually stop to ask. Did this start with us? Is this a modern habit, a bored civilization habit, a too much free time habit? Or did the first humans, the ones dodging cave bears and figuring out fire, also want to get out of their own heads once in a while? That's what we're figuring out today. And the honest answer might make you look at your Friday night a little differently. Let's define this properly before we go anywhere, because getting high is doing a lot of work as a phrase. Strip it down to its bare core, and it's really just this: deliberately altering your own conscious state using an external substance. That's it. It doesn't require a lighter. It doesn't require a bottle. It doesn't even require something illegal. Alcohol counts. Certain plants count. Fermented fruit sitting a little too long in the sun counts. Even rhythmic breathing techniques and extreme fasting can chemically alter your brain state, though we'll focus mostly on substances today. Which means the real question isn't did ancient humans have drugs in the modern sense of the word. It's much broader and much older. Did ancient humans deliberately seek out altered states of consciousness, on purpose, knowing what it would do to them? Spoiler, yes. Emphatically, overwhelmingly, archaeologically documented yes. And it goes back a lot further than most people assume. Before we get to on purpose, we have to talk about how this probably started completely by accident. Picture early hominins, long before Homo sapiens, gathering fruit. Fruit left in a warm climate, sitting for a few extra days, starts to ferment naturally. Wild yeast converts sugar into alcohol without anyone doing anything at all. Animals eat this fermented fruit constantly, and researchers have observed something genuinely funny about it. Elephants, birds, even fruit flies show behavior consistent with intoxication after eating naturally fermented fruit in the wild. There's a real scientific theory for this called the drunken monkey hypothesis. The idea is that our primate ancestors evolved a strong attraction to the smell and taste of ethanol specifically because it was a reliable signal of ripe, calorie-dense, safe-to-eat fruit. In other words, we may have evolved to like the taste and effect of alcohol millions of years before we ever brewed a drop of it on purpose, because liking it kept our ancestors well fed. So the starting point wasn't a person deciding to get intoxicated. It was evolution rewarding a taste that happened to come attached to a side effect. The on-purpose part came later, and it came fast. Here's where the story shifts from accident to intent. Archaeologists have found residue of fermented beverages in pottery dating back roughly 13,000 years at a site called Rakefet Cave in modern-day Israel. And this wasn't just leftover fruit juice that happened to ferment. Researchers found stone mortars specifically shaped and used for brewing, alongside evidence tying the site to ritual burial practices. This wasn't someone stumbling onto old fruit. This was deliberate production for a specific occasion at a funeral. Go back further, and the picture doesn't get less deliberate. It gets more so. Archaeologists studying sites in China have found chemical residue in pottery, suggesting fermented rice, honey, and fruit beverages dating back over 9,000 years, brewed with clear intention and stored in vessels made for that exact purpose. And it's not just alcohol. Evidence of psychoactive plant use, chewing coca leaves, using certain mushrooms, inhaling smoke from specific plants, shows up independently across wildly different ancient cultures on different continents that had zero contact with each other, which is a strong signal. When cultures with no possible communication independently arrive at the same behavior, it's usually not a coincidence. It's usually something close to a shared human drive. By the time you get to early written history, the intent is undeniable. Ancient Sumerian tablets, the same tradition that gave us humanity's oldest customer complaint, include what may be the world's oldest known beer recipe, a literal hymn to the goddess of brewing, written down because beer mattered enough to a society to formalize it in writing and religion at the same time. This is the part that surprises people, because getting intoxicated from a purely survival standpoint sounds like a terrible idea. You're impairing your senses, your coordination, your reaction time, in a world with actual predators. So why would evolution, or culture, or both, allow this to persist and spread? A few theories, and they stack on top of each other rather than competing. Theory 1. Social glue. Shared intoxication lowers social inhibition, and lowered inhibition builds trust fast. Anthropologists studying both ancient and modern small-scale societies have consistently found that communal drinking or substance use correlates with stronger group bonding, more cooperation, and reduced interpersonal conflict, at least in controlled, ritualized contexts. A group that gets intoxicated together, safely, learns to trust each other in a way that's hard to fake sober. Theory 2. Ritual and the sacred. Across an enormous range of ancient cultures, from Siberian shamanic traditions to Mesoamerican ceremonies to ancient Greek mystery cults, altered states were treated as a doorway to something spiritual. Not recreation, communication. A way to access a version of reality believed to be otherwise inaccessible, reserved for specific rituals, specific people, specific moments, treated with enormous seriousness rather than casualness. Theory 3. Medicine, before medicine existed. Long before anesthesia, alcohol and various plant substances were among the only tools available for managing pain, easing anxiety, or helping people sleep through genuine suffering. What we now file under recreational was, for most of human history, filed under the only pain relief available. Theory 4, and the least flattering. It just felt good, and that was often reason enough. Not every ancient behavior needs a deep survival justification. Sometimes a species that's smart enough to notice a substance changes how it feels is also smart enough to go looking for more of it, purely because feeling different, occasionally, is its own reward. Here's the part that gets left out of most conversations about ancient intoxication. Almost every ancient society that used these substances also built rules around them. This wasn't chaos. This was structure. Many ancient cultures restricted certain substances to specific rituals, specific ages, specific social roles, or specific priestly classes. Ancient Egyptian records show regulated beer rations tied to labor. Workers building monuments were given measured beer allowances as part of their pay, not as an unlimited free-for-all. Aztec society had strict, often severely enforced rules around pulque, a fermented agave drink, reserving unrestricted use for religious elders and the elderly, while placing serious social and legal consequences on public intoxication by others. In other words, ancient humans weren't naive about the risks. They understood, early and clearly, that these substances were powerful enough to require boundaries. The impulse to get high wasn't the reckless part. The reckless part, historically, was almost always what happened when the social rules around it broke down, which is a pattern that, frankly, hasn't changed very much at all. So bring this back to the present. The glass of wine after work. The thing your mother doesn't know about. The gum, chewed just to feel something. You're not doing something modern. You're not even doing something uniquely human. If the drunken monkey hypothesis holds up, some of the wiring underneath that impulse may predate our species by millions of years, quietly inherited from ancestors who just liked the smell of ripe, fermenting fruit. And the deliberate, on-purpose version of it, brewing, ritual, ceremony, ration, stretches back at least 13,000 years, tied to funerals, gods, medicine, and community, long before anyone wrote the word recreational in any language. What's changed isn't the impulse. It's the packaging, the availability, and, a lot of the time, the structure ancient societies used to keep it in check. So the next time you pour a drink to unwind, or light something you'd rather keep quiet, or just chew gum a little too aggressively during a stressful meeting, know that you're plugged into something extremely old. Something that predates cities, predates writing, predates agriculture, and quite possibly predates our species. Ancient humans weren't stumbling into this by accident forever. At some point, and a lot earlier than you'd guess, they started doing it on purpose, carefully, ritually, with rules attached, because they understood exactly how powerful it was. Some things are ancient. Some things are just human. This is one of them. If you want more of these, the strange, hidden histories of the things we never question, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more where this came from.